certain?
I mean, yes, but also no. I hit the go. Oh, I am live. It's weird. Hey, everybody. It's that time again where we got the Gospel of Comics. And I'm here. Rune's here. Hopefully,
I,
Church and Ayrton will be here soon.
I gave Church a poke. Hopefully, he will rise from the primordial ocean that is Final Fantasy 14.
I mean, that is a deep ocean, isn't it?
It is. I have fallen off of that ocean, but he is still deep within it. But I cannot judge because I tiptoed into an ocean called Fortnite for a month.
I mean, I've not done a fortnight.
Well, I played the free Fortnite, but this month I got a little bit of windfall, and I was like, you know what? I can spare 11.99. I will see what this whole paid Fortnite thing is for a month. Um, and I am level 210, which is 8 levels more than I needed to have completed all of the passes, right? So
Hmm.
it's like if I need my digital jank, I have my digital jank. I have objectively earned the value of my $11. Does that mean it's something I will continue to do for? Probably not. But I've done it at least once. I checked it out. I said, colors are nice.
So I did something I didn't think I would ever do. I
Okay.
got a Batman comic.
Oh my.
Not only did I get a Batman comic, I am gonna go into my shop later and tell them, "Hey, let's just keep going with it. Let's ride with Batman."
You got a Batman comic and you want more of this bat.
Yes,
It,
although
I'm
it's
I'm I'm
it's
gonna
it's
I'm
still
gonna assume
tentative.
I'm gonna assume it is not absolute bat.
It is not, no. But
Yeah.
is a reset of Batman where Bruce is living in Alfred Pennyworth's estate, uh, and Batman is on the run from law enforcement in Gotham yet again. But here's the kicker, and again, I'm not familiar with current Batman continuity, so I don't know why any of these things are happening. Vandal Savage, for some reason, is the commissioner of Gotham PD,
Okay.
and James Gordon has been busted back to being a beat cop. And Vandal Savage has brought in PMCs to hunt down the bat. But that's the set dressing for the story.
Okay, so there's something interesting about this story you are about to drop that will change my perspective on it.
So the story is it's a standard Arkham story. Killer Croc is broken out of Arkham, and Batman's going after him, and the new head person at Arkham Asylum is like going, "Hey, listen, I believe that Croc can be reformed, and blah blah blah." And Batman's like, well, "Not really. I mean, Croc's basically a couple of steps above an animal." And Bruce Wayne's AI assistant, which is basically virtual Alfred, is all like saying, "Hey, listen, what if she's right though? What if this poor suffering child that's just been having deformities and mutations that keep leveling up is confused and hurt and angry, and you could help him because you were that way once too." And then Batman, goes, hunts down Killer Croc. There's also a weird gang called the Creeps in a park, which is a bunch of people catcalling women, which was kind of jarring. But I'm gonna get rid of that from my main focus of the story. It's basically he goes in and Croc is there, and Croc is having a moment. where his psychology is resetting, and he's going to Batman saying like, you're kind of screwed up in the head too, and like then Bruce and he have a human moment, and the people from Arkham come and they dose Croc up and they take him back to the asylum. So the story is all about Batman coming to realize that his villain's got problems, and it's not as black and white as he has thought about, and that maybe he needs to regain some of his empathy and compassion for these people while he is suffering through Vandal fucking Savage running the cops in Gotham.
Okay, I like where this story is at. I also hate this story, and
Mhm.
I hate it for the same reasons I don't like Absolute. Okay,
Mhm.
so I was recently involved in an idiot conversation on Twitter, where idiot conversations live, right? Because I described Absolute Batman as an event. Okay, and I stand by this description actually, because to me, ultimately, and ultimate is in fact a funny usage considering that ultimates was a line that was canceled and now is restarted and is now being canceled again over at Marvel.
Mhm.
Absolute has no staying power. DC doesn't want to run two uh, parallel continuities long term. Anything they come up with is either going to get folded into the main continuity or is going to get swept under the rug when it's no longer profitable.
Mhm.
It's an event. So was Metal.
Basically,
So was Dark DC. So was their last Crisis on Infinite. Who gives a fuck,
yeah,
right?
basically 2 to 3 years
Right,
of comics, and then there's a reset where we just pretend like any of that stuff. We just pretend
right.
like it didn't happen.
And part of my problem with Absolute, which is what I'm getting at, that's pertinent to the run you're describing, is it doesn't do anything interesting with the material beyond a superficial reference. Hey
Mhm.
guys, do you like Batman? Yeah. What if Batman lived at Alfred's house? Okay. And what if Vandal Savage ran the police? Whoa! It's like, okay. And next week it's gonna be what? Mayor Al Ghul? Because you've done
I
this
mean,
before, right?
Mayor Al Ghul is a pretty funny title though.
Mayor Al Ghul would be kind of neat. But I'm saying ultimately it is, we're just going to take the same characters and the same ideas and we're going to remix them. And if we do a new character, it's going to be a remix of two old characters that we've redone, but we're going to do it in some really cynical, superficial way. I want actual, meaningful, interesting stories about characters.
So
Don't
what
do
you're
an
saying
alt
is,
world, otherwise Batman. Do a regular Batman story where
so what
Batman
you're
has it
saying.
put in his face that maybe he's become unempathetic in his war on crime.
Well, I mean, that is what happened here. Just all the sundry world building is a little bit of a bitterness in the sauce.
Right.
Also, in the comic, they show a lot of Batman's tech. It's not quite so they have a little pop up saying here's what he's
Yeah.
doing to do this thing with. Batman has one of those like enhanced reality things where like you see little pop ups
Yeah.
about different things. They're like, it's fine. So I'm at least genuinely positive so far. Although the creeps was an issue for me. I'm going, what? Why was this in this comic book?
Well, by the same token, I will throw out there that maybe I just don't like DC. And when people are like, "Why don't you like DC? What are you, a Marvel kid?" It's like, "Well, I am a Marvel kid." And they go, "Like, why?" It's like, because Marvel has not yet done something quite as stupid, although they keep trying, as building up Terry McGinnis being Batman Beyond, and then throwing him under the bus and just making it Tim Drake, which they recently did. Good job, guys. Good job. Way to screw the pooch.
But You did mention the Ultimates, and so I picked up the two different
Well,
Spider-Man Ultimate books
well, because I assume you have to. You've gone so deep, and now it's coming to a close. You've got to complete your run.
for Spider-Man, yes, but I
Yeah.
also got the Miles Morales run, and the Miles Morales run has ended.
I I really appreciate that my one-off joke has become an accepted nomenclature in the gospel that he shall henceforth be called Mild Morales.
So you remember how Miles Morales went to the new Ultimate Universe to recover his sister, who was kidnapped by the Maker, and
Okay, so wait a minute, wait a
how
minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Mild Morales was ultimate, went to 616, fucked things up for multiple years, and now has gone back to the Ultimates universe?
well, no, it's the new Ultimate Universe, which is a different universe. It was made by the Maker.
Right. Because
So the
Darkseid said, what if reality was made by an asshole?
well, eh. so
don't
uh,
don't try and tell me, Larry, that these two storylines do not bear certain horrific similarities that only
well,
make them look more mercenary and bullshit.
Hickman had an idea, and Marvel was like, "Yeah, but you're done in 2 years." And Hickman was like, "But I actually have better ideas than I did with the X-Men one." And they're like, "Yeah, but you're done." So
So, okay, carry on.
Miles Morales fights one of the Maker's, henchmen who rules South America for him. Sunspot's dad, who's been going around stealing superpowers from other mutants, was going to steal the superpowers from Miles Morales' kid's sister, um, which was weird. But I've not paid attention to any of these other Ultimate books, so that may have been something that was meaningful in their series of comics. I don't know. So you want to know why they had Miles Morales spend a 5-issue arc crossing over with this comics universe?
I long to know.
So that the Doctor Doom in that universe, who is that universe's Reed Richards, can find out that the Maker is an alternate reality version of himself.
That needs
And
Mild Morales.
yes, and you know why that Reed Richards became Doctor Doom? Because the Maker tortured him until he accepted that he was Victor Von Doom.
Okay.
I don't know why he did that. I got the comics where that was detailed, and it didn't make any goddamn sense.
Well, see, you have two disparate problems going on, Larry. The first is people tell you, shut off your brain. It's just a comic book. So your first answer is it's fun, stupid. The second problem is that it's also full of itself and self-important. So it's also so smart you just don't get it, right?
And
Except it's
more,
not, and you shouldn't be shutting your brain off because shutting your brain off is the antithesis of what a good comic or even adventure yarn does. It should be making you go, wow, wouldn't that be cool? And opening up your brain pan, not shutting it down.
Mhm.
I think this increased dependence on the idea of just shut off your brain and enjoy it, just eat the popcorn. That is basically the language of consume product, get excited for next product.
It's true. It's true. So that's the whole point. He went through like 5 comic books battling
Here's
various people in the new Ultimates universe, and I'm like, but what if there's actually a point for Miles to be there?
here's here's the thing. My boss and I were hanging out goobing today. Okay, as we are wont to do, being gentlemen of goob,
Hmm.
right? And we had a conversation where the subject of zombies came up of all things, and and we posited between the two of us that, well, at least my boss postulated zombies were a broken concept and said, okay, let's do a real world zombieing. How would you do a zombie story based at least loosely in reality, right? Now, we did segue into plot devisium that doesn't work because it's still science magic ultimately,
Hmm.
right? But we actually conceived of a really interesting form of a zombie apocalypse story. Okay? So what if the military decided to test a new weapons platform, okay? A
Hmm.
nanite system that is entirely not dangerous to living humans, okay? But can take over the recently deceased nervous system and turn them into additional soldiers with programming to fight better, right? So you go into a war zone, you go into somewhere in the middle of Afghanistan, you kill a bunch of local insurgents, and the local insurgents stand up and fight for you, right? Sounds
Hmm.
great. Obviously, we know where the problems are that this is going to get wildly out of control, right? But rather than do the zombie apocalypse, which is just stupid, right? You jump forward 30, 50 years, right? Society has now fundamentally changed. There's been a civilization dieback, but it's not really ended, right? And the nanites are still in the atmosphere, in the air, in the dirt, in the food. They're everywhere. But they're not dangerous if you're alive, right? But if you're dead, you become animate, right? So societies have developed various management methods. They, dismember you, they burn you, what have you. But every so often, if there's a mass death event like a famine or an explosion or something, sometimes you get small armies of the undead. And what does that society look like? What does it look like when people are uh, uh, institutionalized to defend against recurrent insurgencies by the undead, and they're not just shambling George Romero zombies or rage zombies, but it's like Zombie Team 6 is now here to mess you up, right? And what's more, if you don't go get them, they don't fall over immediately, so they do things like build bases and reinforce their positions and lay traps. So now you have a implicit dedicated cultural group, basically adventurers, right? Who their entire thing is, I'm going to take my guns, I'm going to take some equipment, and I'm going to go into these, zombie tunnels that the zombies built because you have to dig them out like VC because you can't let them lie there. We thought that was really interesting. It really opened our third eye, and we spent a good 20 minutes to a half hour just spitballing what would this look like if it was a movie, right?
Hmm.
That's what a good comic is supposed to do, right? You sit with your friends, you talk about who could kick whose ass, you talk about the cool shit you've seen, but you also
Hmm.
talk about the stupid things like, okay, if superheroes are real, what would it be like? Right? I I don't want to talk about what if Reed Richards was evil. Not only is that
Well, no, no.
played out, not only was that not cool the first time, it's not cool the sixth time. It's not cool when it's now. But what if Reed Richards tortured Reed Richards and made Reed Richards into Doctor Doom? That's fucking retarded. And I don't care how much you say or how much other people say, but Hickman had a plan and Marvel has fucked him. It's like, is it also possibly true that perhaps Hickman's ideas are shit?
I mean, the thing is, he had ideas that would be for a multi-year run,
Right.
and this was not a developed multi-year run. But let's talk about the good book in the thing, the
Okay.
Spider-Man book.
Not a Conan book.
Uh no, we did Conan last week.
I'm just saying, for once we're not talking about a good Conan book, we're talking about a good Spider book.
So the problem I have now, and I can't be too harsh because there's only two more issues left,
Hmm.
is they're speed running to develop a spider family. Uh, Octavius using the Iron Goblin armor and his studying on Spider-Man made a superior Spider-Man armor. So he's going off being Spider-Man, doing spider things, helping the spider family. And
Again, fuck you, DC.
Ben is in his not Ben, yeah, Ben in his suit, Peter's son, is going to his
Right.
girlfriend, Felicia Hardy, and saying, "Hey, listen, my dad needs me to break into this building and implant this thing in here. You want to help me?" This was the Felicia Hardy who tried to sell him out to the Kingpin until his Picotech suit version of Venom said, "It's okay, son. Just turn off your brain for a moment while I murder everybody." They didn't
Yeah,
say I'm going to murder everybody, but he murdered everybody.
we know how it go.
And Peter and MJ and their proper family are having a get together, and Peter and Mary Jane have kind of smoothed over all the rough patches from their son having some superhero PTSD, and the fact that they're fighting against one of the people who's the secret rulers of the world, because North America is ruled by the Kingpin, because for some reason the Kingpin worked for Reed Richards. I don't care
I
about
mean,
that plot.
you've hit the nail on the head, which is the perpetual problem of all this, which is for some reason,
Hmm.
or if you prefer, the more conventional pop cultural form,
A wizard
somehow
did it,
Palpatine returned.
or the one from The Simpsons, which is a classic one.
A wizard
Somehow
did it.
a wizard did it,
Yeah.
classic. So yeah, and then it ended with
He-
Harry Osborn confronting all of the Mysterios who have formed a Gestalt entity Mysterio. And the Gestalt entity
all right.
Mysterio is wanting to go fuck up Reed Richards.
All right. So here's the thing. Maybe this will quantify my problem, my
Mm,
boggle.
mm,
Okay. I had reason to mention in a conversation recently that quite literally one of those stupid posts where it's like, say what you will about this. What's your hot take? And I said that Wolverine
mm,
was overplayed
mm,
and frankly boring. Right now, this is as a fan of Wolverine. I was a kid. I grew up liking Wolverine. Everybody thinks Wolverine's cool when you're 12,
mm, mm,
right?
mm.
So how is it that I can not like Wolverine? That just sounds like crime. It's because I freely admit, and I have always known since the day it dropped, Wolverine Origins could not be good.
Mm.
And once I knew what was in it, I knew it wasn't good. And it wasn't a good movie,
Well,
right?
Wolverine Origins has the issue of the fact that it tells an uninteresting story.
It tells an uninteresting story that is the penultimate conclusion to a multi-decade epic that everybody wets their pants over. Who is Weapon X? What is Weapon X? Who was Logan? How was Logan? What a Logan? Why is Logan? The ultimate answer was a dude from Canada. Good job.
Hmm.
And it was
Hmm.
so bad they tried to rework it again with Romulus and go, no, no, no. He's a dude from Canada, but he's actually a wolf person. And then they undid that when people went, no, fuck that noise. Right?
Hmm. Hmm.
The
There,
same thing with the Clone Saga, and we do hope that Church shows up today to talk about the Clone Saga. Is these long running storylines cannot end in any kind of meaningful conclusion that feels good. The
well, I
reason we
mean,
talk
the
the reason we
Clone
talk about
Saga,
the reason we
the
talk about Craven's Last Hunt is because Craven's Last Hunt was short, firm, and hit hard.
well, I mean, the original Clone Saga was short, hard, and hit was short, firm, and hit hard.
Right. But the reason I bring this up, the reason that this is relevant to what you're talking about with Hickman's Ultimate run here and Ultimate Spider-Man, and they're trying to race to a Spider family, and the reason I say fuck you DC is because they popularized that shit with the Bat family.
Hmm.
Um, is I think if we're gonna be fair to Hickman for a moment, I think the problem is he never actually has an answer, and a wizard did it is actually the plot. Because he doesn't want to do short run stories. He can't or won't do a single small run unless it's some weird indie comic of his preferred type that he gets to say whatever he wants to say in. And even then, something you and I talked about recently when talking about Deadwood and Hell on Wheels as TV shows, it's all vibes. right?
Hmm.
Because like,
Absolutely.
okay, let's be reasonable here. He was gonna do something interesting with Krakoa. When? How long did he really need? Oh well, he had a several-year plan. Okay, well you didn't get it. All
No, it's
right.
worse than that. It's worse than that.
Well, he didn't get it, and they interfered with it. But
No, no, it's worse than that. About a year in, they told him, "Listen, we want you to be the line editor for the Krakoa X-Men in name only,
right,
and we're just going to take over the story, and we're
right,
going to keep paying you."
right. But but here's what I'm getting at. You say if he had had X number of years, this Ultimate Spider-Man thing might have gone somewhere. That it's
Well, no.
basically becoming undercooked because it's being rushed. I'm saying, would that time actually have made it a golden goose, or would it have just been properly cooked and still lame?
So let's say for a moment that I was somehow an editor in chief in Marvel.
Right, you're the man.
The issue is with Hickman's writing is Hickman does broad, deep, expansive world building, but he
Right,
doesn't do broad, deep, layered storylines. He does storylines like, let's make Spider-Man a middle-aged guy with a wife and two kids. Now,
right,
Spider-Man, middle-aged guy, wife, two kids. Uncle Ben was alive and worked at the Daily Planet. J. Jonah Jameson was basically like a mentor to him. You could do a 2 to 3 year run of Spider-Man that focuses just on that premise. You can flip things on their head. Like in that run, Robbie Robertson sold out to the Kingpin because
right,
he had 6 months left till he was fully vested in his pension. So he wasn't going to rock the boat. There were elements of interesting things you could do there. The
right.
idea of Harry being the Green Goblin and being Spider Man's cohort in the war against crime. Again, good idea in concept. You don't need a broad, deep, this is all part of Reed Richards' secret scheme plot. You don't need that. It overly complicates it and it becomes distracting. I don't necessarily mind the idea of Peter's son finding his old, tech suit and becoming Venom. I think that's appropriate.
Right.
I don't think we should replicate Octavius Spider-Man. I think that idea should have never happened, but that's just it. That's it. You have Peter, you have his son with the Venom thing. You could do a couple of years just dredging into that concept.
Actually, I'm gonna mention something you brought up in passing that is really interesting. So back when I was a carpet grub and read comics on the regular, um, Felicia was on the outs with Spider-Man, who had either just married or was about to marry Mary Jane,
Hmm.
right? And Venom was on the loose, recently freed from the hospital, basically for the second time, planning his big return to threat, right? Um, and I had a comic where Felicia broke into Peter and MJ's apartment and threatened her that she was going to destroy her life because she had taken Spider-Man away from her, right?
Hmm.
You could riff on that even though you're not in that setting by
Hmm.
having a tangible subplot where MJ is deeply concerned because her son with Peter, right, is dating the Black Cat.
Well, this is a different Black Cat, but
I
yes.
I understand that, but I'm saying you can lift the same beats from the old story to reuse in a new and interesting way with a different character, and that adds to your overall here's our
Hmm.
set of super adventures because it gives you your long running B plot for Peter's son,
Hmm.
right? He has to both be a hero and work with his friends, and he has to be a father and guide his son into super heroics but damn it, his son is making mistakes that he kind of made when he was younger. Maybe we shouldn't do those again,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Like
Now,
solid storytelling if you actually do it right and don't overfill it with a bunch of other shit.
let's go with the A concept for Hickman's new Ultimate Universe. The A concept is, what if evil Reed Richards from the old Ultimate Universe recreated his universe in his own image? That's not a long running storyline. None of the characters that will emerge from that, albeit the Black Panther one was fine because it was written by somebody who was good. The Spider Man one was fine because it was written by somebody who was good. Everything else was garbage. And it's not a there's not a big story there. Evil Reed Richards creates a different universe, makes some heroes good, some heroes bad, but the moral order of the universe gets restored. Evil Reed Richards is defeated. He gets put on the shelf for another 5 to 10 years until Marvel decides to bring him out for another cash grab.
Right.
And that's it. That's not a long running storyline. Now, the problem for Marvel is if you don't have that plot hook and you have a what if alternate universe with Peter with a wife and kids, it's not going to sell as well. So Hickman's broader proposal enabled Hickman to write a story that was good, but it was ultimately going to be sacrificed because the big bosses were only interested in a 2 year. We're dusting the Ultimates off the shelf so we can keep that IP active and going, which is a tragedy at a deep level, in my
Right.
opinion. All those characters deserve better. But I want to segue a little bit because I was watching a show on Netflix that was terrible.
Okay.
And I watch terrible things on Netflix because I want to learn
Because
storytelling. I want to learn craft.
you have faith in this company.
No, no. I'm learning things from watching terrible things. It helps me understand how storytelling is done right and storytelling is done wrong. So, this particular show, Wayward, also taught me how the intersection of algorithm and streaming shows is it's really fucking weird. So, it's a horror show about kids who are in a weird cult-like psych home in Vermont. Now, the thing is, I've seen 2 or 3 of these shows out there on the Netflix space. So I gotta wonder, is there some weird fucking algorithm out there that says, "Well, people are interested in this topic because they saw it on some documentary
Right.
thing."
How many times can we recreate Stranger Things and not call it Stranger Things?
Well, this isn't really Stranger Things. So our A plot involves 2 young Canadian women who are high school students. One is from a good upscale family. She's Asian, and she wants to become a comedian. And the other one's a white girl from a bad family. That's our A plot characters. Our B plot characters is a young woman who had went to this program, who met a transgendered person who became the father to her child somehow, because it's a trans woman going. No, excuse me, a trans man. So somehow, but whatever. And he's the fish out of water, going. This town's kind of fucking weird. What the fuck's going on here? So that's the entry level plot hook, and doesn't understand how policing works. It doesn't understand how any of these things work, but it's trying to be a horror. And what I want to ask right now is, why do people like horror as a genre? The fear, the tension, None of that really is super a thing I'm into. Like, I like a good monster thing, but not the ooh, the monster's scary kind of thing. That has
Uh,
never appealed to me.
all right, all right. So different, like most genres, horror is a catch-all for different
Sure.
styles of approach. Okay, but they do share some uniformity of purpose.
Hmm.
The key thing that has been lost in a lot of our horror media today, and they try to get it back in different ways, but I don't think they're aware of it. Okay, so we're talking about people building off of tropes without understanding the tropes they're working with, right? Is a is first and foremost, all genre fiction was once upon a time a romance. You'll hear people
Hmm.
use a term, we've even used it here on the show, I think, romantasy,
Hmm.
right? And how awful that is because it's people doing fantasy, but it's all really lovey-dovey and about relationships and girls. The thing is that once
Well,
upon a time,
it's worse than that now.
oh, I know it's worse than that, but once upon a time, all fantasy was a romance because it was all romantic. It was about getting up and getting out and leaving the world of work and worry and bills and going on adventures. And adventures were romantic. Seeing the world was romantic. Going out there into the
Hmm.
unknown was romantic. Um, in that
These are
same,
things, by the way, you learn if you get a proper education.
yeah. Well, horror was also romantic, often gothic romance. Dracula, which is a incredibly chaste Victorian horror story, is a romance, right?
Hmm.
Frankenstein is a romance.
I
But
mean,
and here
Frankenstein just want to get laid. The
and
monster
here
just want to get laid.
and here's the important one that is going to confuse people. Sherlock Holmes was romantic fiction, right?
In its day, yes.
In its day, it was considered romantic fiction. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle thought it was basically stuff he did for rent money. Okay, and the reason that that is important to bring up is because that's mystery. That's the mystery genre, right? Horror is on some level a mystery genre, right? It's not necessarily about the monster, although you can
Or
absolutely have stuff about monsters.
or the
It's
scare.
right, or the scare, although the scare is an important pressure valve. It's about where is the monster? What is the monster? Why is the monster doing what it's doing? You don't necessarily care about who's going to get killed in a slasher flick because they're all going to die, right? You're
Hmm.
interested in how are they going to die? What sins will they commit that will lead them to die? What horrific mechanism does the villain have for his kills? And how is the villain going to get overcome, either by his own evil or by the one good one, representing that good must overcome evil in the end, right? Watching these things or reading these things is very much like trying to figure out, did the butler do it, right? Who murdered the guy? Same energy. Um, Now in his academic works, and shock people, some people that have lost their minds on the internet used to be credible people in their field. Stephen King used to work as a college professor in his
Stephen King's
yeah,
Stephen
Stephen
King's
King.
book on writing actually is one of the best
Yes.
books written on
I've
writing.
I've got it. I've got Stephen King's on writing. I also, but the one I'm going to talk about is his book on horror called Dance Macabre, okay? Which is about 30, 40 years older than On Writing. Okay, it was new when I was a baby. My mom owned it. Uh, in it, he talks basically about three kinds of horror. Okay, so there's the horror of a situation. Okay, that's where, as a for instance, you find a body and the horror of what happened to that body. Right.
Hmm.
There's the horror of the mystery, which is I'm walking up the stairs. At the top of the stairs, there's a door. The door is breathing. What's behind the door is terrifying, but the door itself is not. But the second I open that door, the terror is gone because that terror, while very visceral, is in fact unsustainable. That's Lovecraftian horror, right? There was an indescribable thing just beyond the portal. If you only could see it, you would have gone completely mad, right? Uh, and then there is essentially the horror of the primeval, right? Now, Stephen King in that work talks about being a very young person sneaking down to the stairs to watch horror movies he wasn't supposed to see on TV, black and white, and the most basic version of this is literally the monster movie, the ape suit dude with the fishbowl helmet with the antenna coming off of it, right? But
Manos,
the
Hands of Fate.
Yeah, but the real good stuff in that context is things like the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Now, we all watch Creature from the Black Lagoon. We think, oh, it's fucking ridiculous, man. Fishman. Fishman's gonna get the woman. But no, what he is talking about is when you really think about it, when you really contextualize it, right? The ancient primordial evil, how strange the world once was that the Gill-Man represents. The
Mhm.
timeless, muck-limed eyes of something that is both utterly inhuman and cannot recognize you as another life form, right? That's the third kind of horror. That's the creature feature kind of horror, where in its best context you are terrified by just the fundamental bizarreness of the world around you, right? Good stuff from a
Mhm.
guy who's lost his mind on the internet.
Which is sad, really.
But it really is. But pertinent to what we're talking about, you're asking, well, why do people like horror? They want to be scared. They also want to be reaffirmed in their knowledge that evil can be defeated. Very much that Terry Pratchett, how else can we know that good things and miracles exist if we don't lie to ourselves that they do, right? But also we want to be smart. We want to be the one that figured it out. This is why I don't like Cabin in the Woods. I
Mhm.
know people that swear by that movie. I know people that love that movie. That movie is meta bullshit
I mean, it's a Joss
because
Whedon movie.
it's a Joss Whedon movie, but it is so self-assured, so narcissistic, because it's like, hey, you know these tropes? We know these tropes. What if these tropes were
You?
real? Ha What if these dudes were actually running a mass experiment and you're the sucker who participated? And oh look, they're taking bets on who's gonna die because you are the audience. Ha Fuck that movie, because there's nothing smart about that movie. Figuring out, oh, well, actually, this is ancient blood god sacrifice is not smart.
That's the start of something smart.
It's the start of something smart, but it's not smart in and of itself.
What you to make it smart is there's blood god,
Right,
and these people were just randomly higgledy piggledy sacrificing things to it to
right,
satisfy the blood god. So we're going to use science to do something about the blood god. But in the
right,
process of doing that, you make the blood god's palate more discerning and its desires more ravenous.
right.
And then it becomes science fiction, horror. Yeah. So
But
the thing is, I was thinking about this as I was watching this show. There's a creepy town in Vermont where they were reassuring a trans person, no, we're all accepting here. I'm like going, what the fuck you mean? In At any point in time, some trans person or a gay person's gonna think a town in Vermont's weird? Come the fuck on. And there's a weird, mental health rehab facility for kids. I mean, I know they had a lot of those in the '90s, but again, come the fuck on. Those are not allowed to just be isolated places where children are tortured.
well, let me ramble at you something weird for a minute. And I've done a lot of rambling tonight. We're 40 minutes in, and I think I've spoken at least a half hour of just pure ramble. Um, I'm gonna put forth idea on this general theme of the start of something interesting that gets completely waylaid by sloppiness. Um, Jordan Peele's first horror movie. The fuck is
Get
the
out.
name of that one?
Get
Get
out.
Out is actually a good movie,
hmm
undermined by a stupid plot twist.
Which
So,
stupid plot twist?
so here's the thing: we all know what the plot twist is. That white people with white guilt are cutting open the heads of black people and brain transplanting into black bodies to be black so they can be absolved of their black guilt.
Mm.
Right?
Race is commodity.
Right. Why is this stupid? For a number of reasons, but here's the big one. Brain surgery doesn't work like that. You can't your brain runs all the way down to the bottom of your spine. It's millions of nerve endings. How do you possibly just chop it out and replace it? It doesn't work like that. It's not interchangeable bits, right?
Mm.
But you want to know what the kernel of a good movie was that they didn't do in Get Out, which would have been perhaps a bit more on the nose, but would have been also really good. You have a family of white people that have developed a combination of hypnotic and surgical procedures not unlike lobotomy,
hmm
right? That they believe being elite douche nozzles will fix the black problem by making the blacks more conformist, more white.
Yeah, you see, that doesn't work anymore.
Doesn't work anymore, but it would still be a better story.
So, what I learned when I was going through school about horror
Right.
is that horror exists in part to talk about anxieties that can't be spoken aloud about. The
Sure.
villain in a Jordan Peele joint isn't just white people, it's well meaning white people, and how they're secretly actually not well meaning at all.
Right. This is the flaw of a Jordan Peele, but carry on.
So you can't do that alternate version because the horror is how these good white people, these allied white people, are actually the worst white people. So that's why that doesn't work.
As,
But
as you may understand, this does make my teeth hurt, but I'm willing to hear you out on it.
so that's the thing. It's like there's always the white liberal progressive people are always the villains.
Right.
And it's the tolerant society that's the villain because they're secretly not tolerant at all. So that's why that's always the punchline in the Peele joint. But
Right.
going back to this show, Wayward. So using your analysis, what you're saying is I didn't enjoy this as a horror movie because so what? There's a creepy psych facility that's torturing people. We've seen
Yeah.
that a bajillion times before.
Yeah. They didn't do
Oh,
anything interesting with it.
and the creepy psych facility feeds into this creepy cult-like town in the middle of nowhere in Vermont. Again, that's uninteresting.
Yeah.
But you know what the most interesting character is?
Well,
The trans guy who's the police officer, who's doing the standard normal person in a cult situation police officer, asking normal, reasonable questions, and people keep giving him seemingly reasonable, if you don't think about it, excuses.
right.
But they just keep doing it, and he's going like, "This is kind of weird."
Well, as I lay it out, I want to be very clear for the people.
Mhm,
None of these parts is intrinsically bad, right?
mhm.
As we're discussing it, as we're kicking it back and forth, you outline, oh well, it's another creepy asylum, and that's why you didn't like it, which might well be true. But with that in mind, uh, it it might well be fine if it was doing something interesting, right?
Mhm.
And having a trans cop is also by itself pretty neat if that usage does something.
Albeit they had to throw in a line to make sure we knew the cop was trans in the first episode.
Right. Not that we. Here's the thing. Not that we should necessarily care. That's the that's the real boggle.
Well, no. When you use intersectional storytelling, because the cop is trans, he's able to be an empathetic character who can help our protagonists out of their problem.
Right.
It's all part of that stacking hierarchy.
Right. I'm just saying that if that's your only reason for having this character be this way, that's an insufficient argument and will lead to a less qualitative product.
I certainly agree. But let's talk about something else that has caught the imaginations of people this week online.
Okay.
Let me pull up the screen share. All right, share. No, I don't want to get this certified use own sales event.
Oh man, this is our spot, huh?
But drivers' faith in filmmakers isn't always shared by the powers that be in the industry. In a lengthy conversation that often touched on drivers' concerns about current Hollywood trends, he revealed that he and Steven Soderbergh spent 2 years developing a Star Wars film that was ultimately nixed by Disney and Company. Star Wars near miss. I was always interested in doing another Star Wars. The driver, who starred as Kylo Ren in the trilogy, kicked off by The Force Awakens. I had been thinking about doing another one since 2021. Kathleen Kennedy had reached out. I always said, with a great director and a great story, I'd be there in a second. I love that character and I love playing him. Driver says he took a concept to Soderbergh for a film that could take place after 2019's The Rise of Skywalker. The movie cultivated Anna Ren's redemption and the apparent death. Driver had undertaken the trilogy with an arc in mind for Ren that inverted the journey of Darth Vader. As the trilogy evolved, it didn't play out that way. Driver felt that the unfinished business for Kylo Ren, or as he was known before, turning to the dark side, Ben Solo. Soderbergh and Rebecca Blunt outlined a story to the group that pitched to Kennedy, Lucasfilm Vice President Carrie Beck, and Lucasfilm Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni. They were interested, so the filmmakers then pulled in Scott Z. Burns to write a script. Driver called the result one of the coolest expletive scripts I have ever been a part of. We presented the script to Lucasfilm. They loved the idea. They totally understood our angle and why we were doing it. Driver says we took it to Bob Iger and Alan Bergman, and they said no. They didn't see how Ben Solo was alive, and that was that. And as you referenced earlier, somehow Palpatine returned.
Right.
He was called The Hunt for Ben Solo, and it was really cool as Driver, but it's no more so I can finally talk about it. Soderbergh in a statement said, I really enjoyed making that movie in my head. I'm just sorry for the fans that we won't get to see it. Representatives for Disney and Lucasfilm declined comment. So let's talk about this. What do you think of the idea of a Steven Soderbergh Ben Solo movie? And the fact everybody, once they found out that this was an option, they're like saying, "Well, why didn't we get this? Why did we have to get the Acolyte or the Kenobi movie?"
except for those contrarians who are then turning around and saying, because I believe it's the drinker actually who said we're not getting a Ben Solo movie, and that's a good thing. The fact of the matter is that I don't care. Star Wars is pretty burned for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was never a Star Wars fan to begin with, and the idea that this is a major thing I must put aside time for is basically gone at this juncture. But having said that, I honestly think this just speaks to the vast well of uh anxiety and risk aversion in Hollywood undermining itself.
Well, here's the kicker. In other interviews, he said it was going to be like 80 million. It was going to be about the amount of money it cost to make John Wick.
Right. No, I've heard this before, and I even credit it as true, right? But having said that, the thing is that Hollyweird doesn't currently believe that a male-led property sells, even when it obviously does, because John Wick exists, right? If we were to ask them, if you had your insiders on hand, they'd be like, oh well, no, that was a Keanu Reeves movie. Keanu sells because he's Neo,
Oh
right?
no. That's not the inside track on what's going on with Hollywood people. It's not that a male-led thing doesn't sell. It's that they're making it female-led in an attempt to get women to see it.
Right. The, this is the thing. This is the continuing problem that we've been talking about for literally decades at this point, which is you're looking for a female audience that doesn't exist. A
Well,
female audience that doesn't want what you're putting down, because that female audience was my mother. And you know what that female audience is watching?
hmm,
John Wick.
well, the way they used to when they're doing genre productions is they used to focus on the male lead as your gateway entry point for your female audience, and you have a soft female protagonist who is basically a thing that the female viewer can inhabit.
Right.
The problem is in contemporary Hollywood, it's not that they think that that's a bad thing from a money standpoint. It's that they think it's a bad thing culturally that female actresses have to be given a subordinate second class status.
All right. So here's the thing. Because I watch a fair amount of Red Letter Media. They recently did their Halloween episode. If you guys haven't gone to see, go see it. Go see it. Uh, there have been multiple attempts across 3 decades or more to
Hmm.
make female-led action films, right? And we can largely see the problems because the very good female action films don't hinge on being female-led. Long Kiss Goodnight.
Hmm.
Gina Davis doesn't like being wet, doesn't like explosions, doesn't like danger. Acted her heart out of that movie. The fact that there was sexual tension between herself and Sam Jackson was played with and then dropped because they both said, as characters, we can't do this. This isn't us. Right? Which is itself a major divergence. Uh, Demolition Man and uh, Judge Dredd both have female secondaries who do their own fighting and their own ass kicking, right? And you can be a cynic and say that it's for TNA, but the fact of the matter is that those young women were not half-assing it, right? So it can be done, but also a lot of people don't know how to write women, don't know how to use women, and they choose women for their roles that are chosen for their aesthetic qualities, not their combat
But
capacity.
hold up. What about the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movies?
God, I hated those, but you know what? She at least did her own fucking stunts. Okay.
She was there for the action spectacle.
Right. She was there to do what her fucking job was in an action bit. What I was going to say, though, is that what you often get is more like the unfortunate and storied history of Cynthia Rothrock. Bleh, right? Capable
Who's
martial art. Ca-
Queen of
ca-
B movies?
right. Capable martial artist constantly being put into movies where she's going to fight in mom jeans, really slow, fighting dudes who don't look very dangerous
In a warehouse,
in a warehouse or in a back alley. And
occasionally in the woods.
its choreography is just terrible. And very important for movies starring her, she never fights the big bad. It's always two slabs of beef who ultimately start fighting in a warehouse full of sparks and fire. Right.
Mm.
That's the thing is you want female led films, fine. It's not write them like men. It's not give them male roles. It's not make them angry, right? It's give them credible conflicts we believe, right? I know lots of, frankly, misogynistic, but more accurately, just black-pilled people look at Yiliana from recent Marvel outings and go, "No, I don't believe blonde girl with bad Russian accent can kick the ass of a guy several times her size because you can't.
Uh,
She
yeah.
she looks chunky." But you know what? Her predecessor, Scarlett Johansson, we absolutely believe Scarlett Johansson could fight a guy two times her size.
Hmm.
Right? She could sell it. She could make it work. We accepted it. The fact that she looked good while doing it was choice. But that's the thing. Okay? A lot of people will hear me say that and they'll go, "Ah, see, Joe's just a misogynist. He just wants to see hot looking chicks." No. My mother, as I said, my mom, who would have watched John Wick if she'd been alive? My mom had a phrase for the movies she and I would watch for Christmas: Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, etc. Because even though we started with the movies that were action at Christmas just to annoy my dad, it turned into a week-long action movie smorgasbord where we just watched everything we could get our hands on. She called them good-looking men getting shot at. Because that's what she wanted to see. She wanted to see good-looking men getting shot at. Good-looking dudes in peril. That was what she wanted. And my mom was gay.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
this is it. She's gay, but that doesn't mean she can't look at the cake. Right?
But I do want to bring back up Wolverine for a moment because I
Sure.
saw a Wolverine related article that I knew would tickle your fancy.
Hugh Jackman, please. I love you. You're very good. Retire. You said you wanted to retire. Please don't do another Wolverine movie.
I
Continue.
mean, that's already happening. It's
I
too late.
know. I know.
Um,
God damn it.
but Marvel Comics plans to make Cyclops into the new Wolverine, at least in terms of comic book stardom. So let's just
It's never
settle.
going to happen.
So first of all, why did Wolverine become a comic book star? So first, Wolverine was this dude they threw at the Hulk who looked really fucking cool, right?
Yep.
And then they said, okay, let's throw him on this book of Canadian superheroes for a little bit, see how
Yep.
that all works out. And then Chris Claremont said, hey, we're going to put him on the International X-Men team.
Right.
And then we're going to make him the bad boy, the dangerous
Right.
bad boy with a
No,
mysterious past
no, let's
to go.
let's use a trope. Let's codify this for the people. They said we're gonna make him Boba Fett.
Right. No, no, but I was going to go one step further. I was going to say,
Okay.
and it's the bad, mysterious bad boy with a heart of gold.
Right. Well,
Logan is
the
going to
heart of gold.
conflict with.
The heart of gold comes later. The important part is he's a grumbly faced loner who smokes cigarettes, looks cool, and doesn't take no crap from the man.
Yeah, and we're going to have him be in a love triangle with our white bread babyface
With
character,
with
Scott Summers.
right. But yeah, but here's the thing. This is the important thing. Nobody cared about Scott Summers in that love triangle. You know what people cared about? Oh man, you know Wolverine's gonna tap that redhead
And the
because
thing
they
is, what's the famous reference you said when Scott said, when people complain, who the fuck put you in charge? He said, well, somebody needed to be in charge. I guess it's me.
right.
That's a comic touchstone you reference. So, how do you make Cyclops into a Wolverine like star? You can't without completely just hollowing him out, which they did with Right Clops. And they did again with the plant people and the weird, like polyamorous, polycule, weird shit that he was doing with Jean and Wolverine.
I I actually don't think that's true. I think there is a way to make Cyclops a cool character, but it requires doing something that Marvel doesn't do. So we're not talking about anything fucking what was it DDO said about the Marvel method. He can eat a dick. Do you know what the actual Marvel method of superheroics is? What differentiates Marvel from DC on a
Uh,
fundamental level?
no, what differentiates them?
DC characters are paragons. They're exemplars. All right? Even if they have difficulties and they fail and they stumble, they are more or less morally and ethically the highest aspirations of mankind. Even if they are funny characters like Plastic Man, they're the most funny guy, right? Marvel has always styled itself as superheroes with problems, right? So Spider-Man is the best guy you ever met. He's the guy you want in your corner. He's your best friend. And Peter Parker is too. But can't pay his fucking rent, can't keep a job, can't keep a girlfriend. Damn it, he can't keep paying his bills. Why is life so hard for Peter Parker?
Although realistically, in the real world, Peter Parker wouldn't actually be in that much trouble financially.
Oh yeah, but still, that is their going trend, right? So what's Wolverine's problem? Wolverine's problem is I'm in love with another man's wife, and damn it, I don't know who I am. My entire life is a blur. I have all these threats and problems I have to wrestle with, and I'm divided from people because I'm a mutant, and no everybody judges me for shit, and I have this anger management problem.
Hmm.
Right? We get that. Okay, what are Summers' actual problems? Okay, everybody assumes, oh, it's the glasses. It's because if he takes his glasses off, he'll blast things. No, that's not his problem at all. Okay, lots of people wear glasses. Most people don't blow things up, but lots of people wear glasses. You can manage wearing your glasses. No, you know what Scott Summers' actual problem is? He's a sad boy because nobody loves him.
I
And you go,
mean, his brother was picked in the orphanage by a nice family.
right. Well, no. Let's go even further back. His father abandoned him, or more accurately, was kidnapped to go be a space adventurer in the
Star
Starjammers.
Empire. Yeah, yeah.
Right? Yes, his brother Havoc was picked at the orphanage, and Scott wasn't, which means Scott grew to adulthood in the orphanage and was taken in by Xavier, a surrogate daddy.
Oh no. He before that he was taken in by a criminal.
Right. But here's the thing. It's always boils down to Scott is looking for something to fill the hole that is his personality. Who is he supposed to be? He keeps relying on other people to tell him,
Hmm.
right? And the one time they had him decide that he was going to decide for himself, he first decided that he was going to be a dick, and then he decided Magneto was right and just adopted Magneto's ethos. Okay? You want to make Cyclops interesting? Have Cyclops get over this shit. Not just abandon it, ignore it, act in opposition to it, be a be an angry boy instead of a sad boy. Have him actually come to terms and like go to his brother Havoc and go, you work for the government. You've done a lot for mutant rights. I wish I had done as much for mutant rights as you have. You're not such an asshole. Maybe we can reconnect. Have him figure out that he does not need to define himself by who he's fucking married to. Because I have always found it really skeevy, not just that he banged Emma Frost on his dead wife's grave, who's not dead again,
He was
right?
also had the yellow fever for Psylocke when she was Asian. Don't forget.
Right. But specifically that he bounces from one psychic to another, and he had a psychic surrogate dad, which means that he really wants mind fuckers in his brain. It's like, get over it, man. Be a capable adult. You want to be a leader? You want people to respect you? You want people to respect the character? Here's an idea. Have the character actually be worthy of respect. Because Wolverine might be a bad boy, dipshit, drunken fuckface, but you know what he's not? A bitch.
Well, no. The Logan actually has a line for it. I'm the
Okay.
best at what I do, and what I
And what
do
I
isn't
do isn't
nice.
very nice. And
You,
what he
you,
does is, but here's the thing. And among those things that he does, one of them is not being a bitch.
but this is Tom Brevoort's attempt to do something like the famous Wolverine miniseries from the early '80s, which made Wolverine such a beloved character. Now, let's talk about this for a moment. You remember how there was the weird plant X-Men era where there were narco terrorists
Yeah,
and uh, and they were an ethnic supremacist state?
yeah.
Wouldn't it be something if Scott Summers, you know, came to terms with that and said, what we did was fucked up? Because, there was a famous X-Men issue written by Chris Claremont that talked about fucked up shit that happened in Marvel Comics. Do you know the
Oh,
one I'm talking about?
I do not offhand, but I'm sure you'll fill me in.
So, do you remember Avengers 200 and the controversy over Avengers 200?
Not specifically. This is deep lore that Church would know.
So, Avengers 200 was a issue where they were writing Miss Marvel, who was Carol Danvers at the time, out of Marvel Comics.
Yeah,
So she had a baby.
right.
She just randomly got pregnant,
Yeah.
and then the baby grew into a full ass adult.
Didn't that
Who,
baby then go on to impregnate her
well, yes,
to
but the
give birth
baby,
to itself?
yeah, because the baby was related to Immortus,
Yeah.
and in an issue of X Men, because Chris Claremont was not responsible for that use of his character, Miss Marvel, in Avengers. Carol Danvers was in the X Mansion, and the Avengers showed up, and she's like, "Bro, what the fuck? Why? Why did none of you say, hey, you're being in a relationship with the baby you just gave birth to is cool and loving and great. Why did none of you think that was fucked up?"
Right.
That's a thing. If you want to make Scott Summers an exemplar for mutant rights and stuff, you should have Scott talk to the other X-Men and say, we kidnapped people. We blackmailed governments and major corporations.
Hey,
We
hey,
crossed some
hey,
lines.
hey. You want a good X story? You want an X story that's gonna cut to the core of what is a Cyclops and why we should like him? I can give you that. I will give you that right now, and it's gonna riff on what you've laid out, dealing with problems and talking about what was fucked up. Okay, New York, day,
Mm-hmm.
middle of the city. We don't know where, right? A man walks into a police precinct. He walks up to the front banister, the old style front desk where there's a dude and he's at the thing and he's filling out stuff. And he's like, "What can I do you for?" And the guy says, "I'm here to turn myself in." And he says, "What's your name?" Looking up very interestingly. And he takes and Scott Summers takes off his baseball cap and says, "Scott Summers, alias Cyclops." And everyone's like, uh what are you here to turn yourself in here for here, Mr. Cyclops? And he's like, "Well, I think I should probably talk to someone. Why don't we take me into a room?" Right? And so they do. Hard cut, you've got some cops looking really confused and they're talking on the side. The detective's here and he comes in and he's like, "Okay, so Mr. Summers, they tell me you want to talk about turning yourself in for some crimes. Why don't you tell me what we're looking at today?" And so he begins to read off the laundry list of fucking war crimes that he has committed at Krakoa. And they say, "Okay, we're gonna get the feds in here. Um, are you looking to cut a deal?" And he's like, "No, but I will name names." And they're like, "Wait, what?" It's like, "I will name names. I will plead guilty and I will name my co-conspirators and everything we did." And when they're like, "You are aware some of these are death sentence crimes." He's like, "Yes." And so, in a fit of pique, the detective is like, "Why? Why what? Why would you admit to all this? You're an X-Man. You could blow your way out of this building, right?" And Scott says, "I've made some mistakes, but someone's got to be responsible. We will never have coexistence without culpability." And you just hard cut. Next page, title, Trial of X, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Scott Summers, international super criminal, former narco terrorist, isn't just going to court, isn't just going to defend himself, isn't just turning aside his appeals and all the things. He is going to name names and drop T for 50 years of X bullshit in front of the media, in front of the government that has been looking for this opportunity to get those fucking muties, right? And
Yeah.
the mutant community globally is on the edge of its seat. People are planning to break him out. People are planning to execute him. People are planning to dig their fucking bunker 10 feet deeper, right? Because none of the mutants in recent memory, in the last, what would you say, 20 years, 25 years, right, has ever tried to actually appeal to the system like the system has to be neutral, right? Nobody has ever actually tried to be upright and honest and say, I'm
Mhm.
a fuck up. I've made mistakes. I am not a good person, but I try to be, right? Which is what Charles Xavier always wanted. Everyone says the Martin Luther King comparison, but they forget what the actual component of Martin Luther King's premise was, right? Not the color of their skin, but the quality of their character. That's not making their lives necessarily better insofar as not being culpable. That's saying, can we judge people equally shitty
Mhm. Mhm.
when you think about it, right?
So, speaking of people who need to be held culpable,
Oh, and by the way, real quick, assuming that Cyclops doesn't get killed, you can then have a mini arc where he's in prison, right?
Mhm.
And if you want to give him that hard edge, you just leave him there for a couple of issues, like a 6-issue run called like Hard Time or something,
Mhm.
where you literally get to see Cyclops do badass things to survive in the very racist mutant prison system next to guys like the Prince of Humanity who would love to shiv him in the fucking shower.
So, let's take a look at this
Yeah.
recent comic book panel.
Oh yeah, I love this panel with panel in it.
No, not just panel. Panel 4.
Yeah, I know. I saw this on the twit. Obviously, Razor Fist saw it. Everyone here is seeing it. Yeah, panel 4, the best.
So, we say this a lot on the show, and other people in our space say this a lot. Is like editor used to be a job at comic book companies that
Yeah,
people would have,
yeah,
and they would edit books, and their job would be to say, "Oh shit, this got put on the actual print somehow. We just need to go to the layer, and we need to make this invisible."
yeah.
But of course, editors don't edit; they have assistant editors who make less money than you or I do.
So what exactly do the editors do if they're not editing?
Well, they go to meetings.
Mm, yes, I'm sure. We found out 30 years ago that people who go to meetings are very important because that was, of course, the entire point of the mid 90s middle management crises when all
Mhm.
of the middle managers who went to meetings as a profession got fired and replaced by the internet. Um, that we desperately need guys who go to meetings.
Mhm.
I,
Mhm.
I thought we needed guys who edit.
Well, no, that apparently that is not what they want.
Mm,
I didn't particularly care for the art style in that comic either. Didn't care
no,
for it
but
at
it,
all.
but it's not a surprise.
No,
We've seen that level of non-content before.
that lack of care.
Yeah, I mean, pull it up again,
Give me a
just
second.
just for amusement's sake.
Let me find it. Here we go.
Because here's the thing: we don't actually have the page, so I do have to cut them some slack. But I want to mention something about the panel itself once we
The
have it up.
overall composition
Yeah,
of the
once we have it
subject.
up.
Come on, you. Give me my tab. Give me the tab.
Come on, computer. We're professionals here. Totally.
And all
Totes
right, here we are.
professional.
Basically, the memory on my computer was being slow,
Yeah. I mean,
so
I'm
it
still
didn't.
waiting for. I'm still waiting for StreamYard to catch up.
Mm.
Stream while you defy us.
All right, let me get this pulled back up now.
I didn't think this was going to be a huge thing, but here we go. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. What is this panel actually looking at?
Well, it's Catwoman, and I'm guessing Poison Ivy. Uh, with some guy with a face that doesn't really communicate
Right.
the emotion of what his word
Say,
balloon is.
saying shoots him, but who is it actually looking at? Who is
Yeah,
our
no,
primary target of visual?
Catwoman.
Okay. Okay. So you would say then that this is weighted to the right.
Yes.
Okay. So then obviously it is the interaction between Catwoman and Faceman, because Faceman is very close to us on the left, right?
Yes.
But it's not evenly weighted. So in fact, Catwoman here should be the more important of the two because more weight is given to her presence, right? She's literally looming in the scene. So let me ask you this then: why is Ivy here? What does Ivy do for this composition?
Um, she's probably in a preceding panel, in a
Right,
subsidiary panel.
right. But here's the thing: let's put on our thinking caps for a minute, and we'll think about making comics or reading comics. Those two very prominent works by Scott, whose last name I forget.
You know what I like though? This whole episode has been almost entirely us talking about comics.
I know, right? It's like, guys, you're missing the good stuff. Um, but here's the thing: would it not be better to eschew Ivy, or better yet, reorganize this picture so that Ivy and Face Guy are on the same side, both looking shocked, while Catwoman stands there looking Catwomanish, and instead make the focus the thing in her hand that has the little lines coming off of it, because
I
that's
mean, I'm
supposed to
assuming
be
that's
the
some
the
sort of
dramatic
flash
reveal.
drive thing.
Right, that's supposed to be the dramatic reveal. Because the actual original question I had, now that we've addressed what is there, let's talk about what's not there. What the fuck is this background doing? This
Um,
this pink and orange void that they float in.
it's not very good.
It's not very good, and it does not enhance nor credibly uh, establish the scene I'm looking at. I have an entire run of books. I bought them in college. Quote, How to Make Comics the DC Way. Okay? Each one very valuable. There's a writing one, there's a digital one, there's a drawing one, there's a inking one, there's a coloring one. Not only are you not supposed to leave panel 4 in the comic, right? But this is not the standard they sell you on to say that they
No,
are supposed to do. This is an incredibly substandard panel. Now, it might have been made by somebody in a rush. It might have been made by somebody on a deadline. He just might not have had the time or wherewithal to
it might
give it
also
all
have
the
been.
bits.
It might also have been made by some guy in a Filipino sweatshop.
Right. The ultimate thing here is that this isn't just bad in terms of comics. We're not just saying it's a comic I don't like, therefore it's bad. This is bad in the theory of art. This is poorly composed in every way. And while we're at it, I am going to talk about its comics and it sucks for a moment. What the fuck is Catwoman wearing?
Slut where?
Right, but more succinctly, first of all, where are her tits? We know where the left one is. Where is the rightmost tit?
I mean, it's being obscured by the arm.
Right, is it being squashed by the arm? Because it looks like she's just grabbing her hip and crushing her own chest.
I
When in fact,
mean,
what's going on is she should be rolling her arm under her bust and pushing up, kind of.
I, I mean,
Right,
the anatomy on this image is questionable.
right. But then that's the next thing though. Is her costume might as well be Storm's costume at this point because it's multiple black straps and a crop top and a ring, right? And she's I know these are supposed to be gloves, but she's just basically got silver arms. Silver arm slops and she's wearing cat ears because how else would we know she's Catwoman?
And also the hand she's holding the flash drive in.
Is a claw, is not really a hand.
Yeah.
Couldn't she have just like worn something really fine and designer but real clothes and been just as effective? Like what are we saying here? What is the story being told here? The story is not there. And it's not just because it's one panel. I think if we had the entire page, this is a giant nothing burger of images.
Well, yes. You can tell that though by the fact that we have three characters with different emotions that don't make sense in the composition of the image.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit of comics content. And,
A little. Hour and a half in. It's been a little bit of comics, everybody.
well, no, I mean that particular bit of comics
Right.
content because we gotta we did a lot with very little,
We did.
and there is. Let me just see if there was something else. So DC Comics Studios has hinted at what may be the future of the DC Comics universe, assuming that James Gunn doesn't set it all on fire. I'm pulling that up here.
Is this that thing about Salvation Run or something else?
Yes, it's that thing about Salvation Run.
Salvation
So are you
Run.
so are you familiar with Salvation Run?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the fact that it's edgy bullshit that I didn't care about.
So Salvation Run was a 7-issue, 2007 to 2008 DC Comics limited series, which was designed to be a tie-in to the major event series Final Crisis. The series involves a large group of supervillains being exiled to the planet Cygnus 4019, also known as Salvation, where they're given no support to survive. The concept of Salvation Run is adapted in the second season of Peacemaker, where the planet Salvation is depicted as a prison located in another dimension.
Yep.
And this was a pitch from writers George R. R. Martin and some other guys.
Yeah. And that's a detriment, everybody. Here's the
And
thing. Here's the thing. The best thing about Salvation Run is a meme that I encountered recently.
okay,
Apparently, at one point, to show how dangerous and crazy he is, and so that he doesn't just get straight up murderized, the Joker beats a villain to death with a rock. Right? And all
okay.
of the supervillains are like, the Joker's beating people to death with a rock. Let's be nervous and afraid. Right? Except the commentator in the meme pointed out, motherfucker, some of you are, made of rocks. That guy is literally rocks. You guys have powers. You could just, evaporate the fucking Joker. Right? This is the nature of the problem. Salvation Run has nothing going on and is not interesting because Salvation Run is, what if instead of a battle world like in Marvel, we had a prison world called Salvation, and we put all of our greatest hits villains on it and said, okay, guys, now escape. That's it. That's all there ever was. That's all it does. That's all it is. I don't want to watch this. I increasingly don't want to watch DCAU content. And the reason I
Well,
don't
it's
want
not
to watch it,
AU, it's DCU.
yeah, but they're also talking about doing an animated version as well.
Ugh.
And I don't want to watch that either because because they've gone from doing, just like Marvel, the good events, the interesting events, to do any event. If we do an event, it'll be good. Who cares about Salvation Run? You haven't set it up. You didn't set it up. Who's going to be in your Salvation Run? Who do we know and care about? Darkseid going to be in Salvation Run? How do you hold him?
No. No, he's not going to
Lobo
be the
going to be in
Salvation
Salvation
Run.
Run? Joker going to be in
Lobo,
Salvation Run? Riddler going to
Lobo
be in
might,
Salvation Run? Who are you going to put
Lobo.
in from your selection of failed films?
Well, right now, none of those other films count.
Right. So you're starting with Salvation Run. You're starting with a bunch of villainous characters we
Oh
don't know,
no,
don't care about.
no. Their idea is Salvation Run is going to be the Infinity War for all these movies once they get them onboarded.
Hey, Larry, you're a sciencer and you've got the internet. Uh, when did Iron Man 1 come out?
2008-ish, 2009-ish.
When did Infinity War drop?
2018-ish,
Right. So that's about what, 10 years, 18 years? How
or
many
or
years was that?
thereabouts.
Thereabouts, yeah. How many movies in between those two things leading up to that successfully?
15, 16.
Okay, so let's give the Schneider Bros their cookie because they're gonna enjoy it. They need it desperately. Um, when did Superman Returns come out?
Well, not Superman Returns, Man of Steel's
Man of
their
Steel, yeah,
movie.
Man of Steel.
Let me look that up. All right, Man of Steel came out in 2013.
Okay, so when did Justice League drop?
2017, 4 years later.
Right, 4 years. How many movies in between?
Uh, 3 or 4.
Three or four. Okay, so of course, Justice League was just as good as Infinity War, right? It did just as well. They had less movies, less time, less buildup, but it did just as well, and everybody loved every one of those films, right?
Well, I mean, no.
But but Larry, I mean, how could you not? Because now we're going to do Salvation Run. That's going to be our Infinity War, but all those other movies don't count. So it's only James Gunn's movies, which is what, three? They came out in
No,
2 years,
it's 1.5.
one and a half, and a TV show. And
No.
it's
Two
gonna
TV shows. Two
two
TV
TV
shows.
shows. Okay, but it's good. But it's gonna be great, right? We can do this faster, right? I mean, it's not like Warner Brothers is being sold off piecemeal and broken up all over again, and that they are desperate to find funding because the ESG is failing. No, we can totally fast track another major cosmic level event, and everybody will love it, and they'll just come to DC in droves because that'll work, right?
I mean, what if we made a compelling Superman movie that was about Superman? And
I
what
mean, I
if
mean, I mean, didn't we do that? Wasn't that the Superman movie that we just made? That was actually a Mr. Terrific movie. That was actually a Guy Gardner movie. That was actually a Hawk Girl Screams movie. That was our Superman movie, right?
no, I mean no. That you made my point
But
there.
but no, it's a Superman on the title, Larry. It says it's a Superman movie. How can you not say product is product?
And what if we make a compelling Batman movie that's at least connected to the
No,
Superman movie.
no. We had the Nolan Batmans. Those were
Well,
Batman movies.
no. They also like the Robert Pattinson Batman, which led to the Penguin TV show.
Right, right. But we had Nolan Bat because they want to skip entirely that Batfleck existed, and Batfleck didn't get a Bat movie.
Yeah, and that's because Ben had a little alcoholism problem, allegedly.
It's also because Zack Snyder's a fucking hack. But we will stand aside and let him continue to run on the idea that he suffered a loss, and that was really what pulled him away from a lot of things, and it's very sad because he'll continue to deflect how much of a piece of shit he is using that.
But I mean, to be honest, you
Yeah.
make a Superman movie that's compelling. You make a Batman movie that's
But
compelling.
oh wait, no, we had a Wonder Woman movie that was as good as Captain America, kind of. Then we had a sequel that we just want you to forget about.
Well, I mean, the sequel's problem was the whole rape subplot. That was a big
I think the
issue.
sequel's problem actually boils down to a woman named Gal Gadot who has wooden acting. I
Well,
don't care if she's fucking Greek, and I don't care if she looks the part. She
she's not Greek.
can't fucking act.
She's Israeli, and she can act, but like a lot of
like a board.
No. The thing is, you need a director who understands how to utilize her skills. She's like early Arnold.
Sure.
She has some raw talent. She just needs to be focused and not be asked to do too much. Because like those very early Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, he wasn't asked to do a whole lot.
Look, I'm bombastic. I get very very prosaic about a lot of things. So I'm going to try and pull this back to base for just a minute. The point of my level of mockery here is that DC has a stated, proven tendency to throw bad money after bad money.
Well, I mean, Warner Brothers is a bad studio from a management perspective.
In the failed premise that if they only throw enough money at property, the property will succeed. And we all agree that that's bad, right? But when you postulate, oh well, they could if they just do a good one. The fact of the matter is they can't do a good one.
Well, I mean, they can. It's entirely possible.
They can't.
But it requires leadership.
No. I want to put forth they objectively can't. Because the few times they have actually almost done something right or objectively done something right, they were either undermined from within or they did not have the capacity to capitalize on it properly. Right? And I will give you 3 examples of almost getting the mixture right. Okay? Shazam was halfway decent.
Yep.
The first one. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Levi running around through being a kid, being a big kid with powers. That was great. I liked Dr. Sylvana by Mark Strong. Mark Strong is a very underrated actor.
He needs to be in more things.
They needed a draw for the follow-up.
You mean Dwayne The Rock Johnson who refused?
Right. But that brings us to the other movie, oddly enough, because undermined from within. Black Adam was passably decent. Wasn't good.
I wouldn't go that far.
No. Wasn't good. Wasn't bad. I would have heard out another film if they had done what they had hinted at, which is give us Black Adam versus Superman. Give us that fist fight, and we'll see you out for a third movie.
Well, they would have done that if Black Adam made money.
Right. But that brings us to the third one. Okay? You somehow accidentally fell into making Aquaman profitable. Because Khal Drogo is actually a good actor when you let him, act. Right?
I mean, realistically, though, he wasn't really acting that much in that movie.
He wasn't, but he has the chops to do so when you give him a chance. Because he had not
Yes.
only come off of Game of Thrones, he had come off of a bit part opposite Stallone in Axe to the Head, right? Or Bullet to
Hmm.
the Head. He had just come off of uh, a smaller scale movie where he was played a blind warrior. Okay, he had done some things. He had shown I can make movies happen. Whether you have me doing bit parts where I just stand up and growl, or you actually have me act.
Hmm.
Okay, Jason Momoa can act, right? And he's budget. He's reasonable. He's
Well, I mean, not
apparently
anymore.
oh no, not anymore. But he's apparently a wonderful guy to be on set with, right? You had Willem Dafoe as a
Who?
secondary, and you decided to bank everything on Amber fucking Heard.
Yeah, yeah,
I can,
yeah.
and mind you, I'm gonna be fair. You can't even really blame Warner Brothers for that one. They got screwed as much as anyone with her fucking hilarity with Johnny Depp,
Yeah.
right? But the fact of the matter is it's like you built. Well, it's relevant because it leads to this other thing. You want to build a film franchise. You need your actors to be reliable, marketable, and successful, right? And then some idiot said, "Let's back Ezra Miller." And when he went on his little disaster spree, nobody said, tank it, take the hit, tank the Flash, tank it now. It cannot go out. We'll lose money. We don't care. We can't do it." Because he burned it. He burned his own movie before it ever showed. And
Now,
and the worst part is then we saw it and we saw how bad it was.
we did. Now, I do want to say it's good that you mentioned Jason Momoa
Jason
because
Momoa.
because it ties into where I want to end the show today.
Okay.
Hopefully,
Okay.
hopefully this actually plays the sound for me.
Oh, yes. Can you make it big?
1 second. Theater mode.
Robert E. Howard, Hester Howard,
Are you hearing the sound?
Yes, we're getting the sound.
Isaac Howard, Cross Plains Project Pride, and the Robert E. Howard Foundation need your help to protect the Howard House Museum. In a break from our usual videos, the Robert E. Howard Foundation is making this important announcement video concerning the Robert E. Howard House. In September of 1919, the Howard family, Dr. Isaac Howard, his wife Hester, and their 13-year-old son Robert, moved from the town of Burkett, Texas, where they had been staying in a rented house. They moved into a home that Dr. Howard had just bought in the town of Cross Plains. This house would be where Robert, or as he liked to be called Bob, lived the rest of his life and wrote most of his yarns from until his death in 1936. It was also the place where Hester spent the rest of her life until her death, a day after Bob's. Doc Howard remained in the house until complications from ill health forced him to sell it and move in 1942 to live with another family until his death in 1944. The house was built around 1910 or 1911 and was built from a kit. At the time it was put up, the builders weren't thinking in terms of building a house to stand for the next 115 years. While Doc Howard added on to the house, and subsequent owners made more additions and minor repairs, or even stopgap repairs, the house slowly aged past its original lifespan. When the civic organization of Cross Plains, Project Pride, bought the house in the early 1990s, they made some minor repairs to try and put it in good shape, and they turned it into a museum for the Howard family, especially the town's most famous son, Robert E. Howard. It has been placed on the National Registry of Historic Places and the State of Texas Historic Places lists, all in honor of our favorite author, Bob Howard. Now the years and lack of major upkeep have finally caught up with the house, and it is in major need of repair work. On September 29th, two specialists in historic place restoration made an initial examination of the house after problems were noticed by Project Pride. Here's what they found. Today, we are here at the Poverty Howard House Museum. We brought some specialists in to start taking a look at the potential damage to the house that's going to be repaired. I have in front of me Blair Knighty, who is a
architectural historian.
All right.
With Kimley-Horn.
And what did you find in your assessment of the house, Blair?
We found a lot of piers have been maybe removed and replaced with inappropriate material, pavers, mix of whatever was on hand, stones, 2x4s. So it appears that there's been some sinking with the foundation, and there's been repairs over time, and those maybe repairs weren't the greatest repairs, and so they are failing again. So that's one of the issues we found. We found some termite damage, moisture damage in this bathroom area, which is an addition, so that's good news. We anticipated a lot of moisture damage due to all the sloping floors, but really it appears that a lot of it is the hodgepodge pier repair. Funny enough, the corners that have the original piers, those are not sinking. So the original piers are great. They do need to be reordered, repointed, excuse me, and so that's a big deal. We wanted to investigate whether or not that vertical trim board delineated the original house, because that's usually what that is an indication of. But when we went to the attic, we didn't really notice any differentiation between those portions of the house. We did find that there was a stove in the kitchen right where the wall kind of meets. We knew that's where the kitchen started, so that's good. We also found the original pipe for where the stove would have been in the bedroom too, in the Howard's bedroom, so that was pretty cool. There are some vertical support beams missing in the front portion of the house, whereas there are already some on the back half, so we might want to look at investigating that. A little bit of moisture issues in the attic, but nowhere near, maybe one or two hodgepodge little pieces missing that are damaged. I think that's the synopsis of what we found today. And
this is all just preliminary at this point?
Everything's super preliminary. We're not contractors, we're really just doing a conditions assessment to see. We tried to do very minimal invasive investigations. Like you can see, we just kind of dug to see underneath the metal. We didn't rip a bunch of metal off. We didn't want to cause repairs after we leave, right? We just want to see what is the extent of some of the damage. And I think we did that today. I think we really found out, like, there's some foundation issues. It's a raised foundation. It's not a slab. It's on piers. The piers have degraded over time. They were repaired inappropriately, and they need to be repaired better.
Do you have anything to say?
I do, yeah, sure, but I haven't thought about it yet. Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Shanks. Some of y'all probably know me. I also work for Kimley-Horn now, and so when Arlene came to me at Howard Days this year and pointed out that there were issues with the house, that you can see there.
Hold up. They have an annual festival for Howard?
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
You'd think there'd be more money for preserving the house, but
There's some buckling on this side, and it appears that the whole west side of the house seems to be sloping down. I realize now I work for a civil engineering company, and we have, architectural historians like Blair and folks like that specialize in this kind of work. You guys know me, I'm an archaeologist. I'm a below ground guy. Structures, I know just enough to be dangerous. But I do know enough to get the right people to come in and take a look. And so that's what we've been doing here today. They use me for what I'm good at, which is digging holes to get up under the house here. We use the borescope to look under there, after we dug it down, to get underneath this metal sheeting that's been, basically a skirt that's been put around the entire house. That skirt itself is probably part of the contributing to some of the problems here because it's trapping moisture underneath the house, and so that's something we might want to think about replacing with something that's more breathable. I did go up the attic, as Blair said, we did find some things there. We know where there were 2 wood stoves now in the house, obviously the kitchen, but there was another one that we did know about because you can see the chimney on the roof, but we found the hole for the stovepipe for Howard's parents' room. We did locate that. The back of the house here that was added on by Isaac, by Howard's father when they moved in 1920, where the bathroom and indoor plumbing was added on. That's where we did find a lot of termite damage that's going to have to be dealt with, mostly because it's wicking up moisture, and that moisture attracts termites, so it's kind of a double whammy, so that's an area that's going to really have to be taken care of. But the big thing is, as Blair said, we have problems with the whole foundation of the house, and we need to really go in here and probably do some work that will not just fix the problems that are here now, but also make it so that in the future we don't have these problems again. And in doing so, I think what we will probably end up doing is returning it in a lot of ways back to the appearance closer to what it was when Howard lived here. That's what we're finding, is that some of the additions and improvements and repairs that have been made in the decades since the Howards lived here have actually inadvertently contributed to some of the damage that we're seeing here, right? And so maybe taking it back even more to its original form might actually help alleviate some of that in the future. So this is going to be a major project, and so we're going to probably be looking to you fans for support to help on this. This is kind of an all hands on deck kind of thing. We've got to save the Howard house.
As you can see, much will need to be done to make sure this historic home is kept standing so that fans from all over the world can come to see and pay their respects at the place where Robert E. Howard lived and did most of his writing. It is still early in the process of determining what all will need to be done to the house, and as Cross Plains is a small town of less than 1,000 inhabitants, it will be up to us fans of Robert E. Howard to help out with meeting the costs of the repairs. The foundation is planning some fundraising projects, and a GoFundMe account will be created for donations. Please stay tuned to this channel or the Robert E. Howard Foundation website for more information as that are needed and their costs become more formalized.
So, yeah, you brought this up, and I figured we should get the link up here now for the...
I actually had an unpleasant surprise today.
Oh.
I shared this video with a friend of mine who is a Texas native, and I thought, oh, they're gonna be super into this. They actually were very dismissive of it. They were like, well, I don't see why we really need to save a house when it's a writer, because like the writer has their writing to tell us who and what they were. I don't see what's so important about like seeing where they lived or slept, because it's not like a real museum with art and the like. And I was like, motherfucker, you're from Texas. That's your history. You're saying doesn't matter.
And also, his environment is what influenced his writing.
Right.
So seeing that environment is certainly significant and historically important.
I just think my associate is not as deep into classic fantasy as I am, which is fine. Like, everybody's allowed to have their preferences. And they find his dismissiveness of the situation kind of just sad, kind of unfortunate. But
Alrighty.
I mean, look, I can't afford to do anything for it. But if any of the people are watching, or if you are watching this later and you have never seen, or you are not familiar, we love Conan around here, and we're big fans of Robert E. Howard, and you can help. You can do a good deed. You get in the good boy book of the gospel. Do we have a good boy book? We should have a good boy book.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
But I think with all that, we're going to say goodnight, everybody.
Yeah.
'Cause, save up some time so I can so we can trick StreamYards into letting us do a normal broadcast. So, good night,
Yeah.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.